Hello and welcome. My guest today is Sam Schoenecker, a digital marketing specialist who's pulled in more than 200 million views and who didn't come from law at all. Sam ran social for Outdoors magazine, where one video hit 40 million views and got picked up by Stephen Colbert and TMZ, then crossed into the legal world. And in his first month, the firm took their videos from a few hundred views to over 10 million. We will cover what actually makes content work, the craft, the pipeline, and why it is so important in 2026 and beyond. Sam, welcome to the Growth Switch.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me. Been looking forward to our convo.
Our pleasure, Sam, to have you here. Set the scene a little bit. How did your career start, and what was the moment that you wanted to switch over to the legal side of things?
Yeah, well, it just kind of so basically I was an English major, which you kind of an English major, you kind of have to find something to do with your major. Like it's not like you're set in stone what you're doing. But I had already I've always felt like that I wanted this role. I wanted to produce videos for businesses. But in 2013, social media, like now you're having to evangelize about the power of video, but in 2013 it was like you want to put videos on the internet and it's going to bring in business. Like it sounded absurd, and even and so this was a career that I kind of hoped would happen and then happened. It's not like you could major in like social media marketing or digital marketing like that much when I was in school, at least. And even in that field, it was like, oh, if you're working in digital marketing, oh, you must be a copywriter. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of like, it was like blogging was like, I feel like when I got into the industry, what people perceived social media marketing, that's SEO, but whatever. But I kind of went into that. I have kind of an arts background, but also took a business minor. And so like I kind of I tried to get a business minor. I couldn't really do marketing classes, which is why AI works out for me, is because the numbers were always something I struggled with. But that's kind of how I switched over into that field. Worked for a few businesses, worked for a dental brokerage, kind of did some video content for them. That pivoted into like one of my more significant roles at Out There Colorado. And that was like, because it was kind of, I had to be scrappy for a while because not everyone would hire a digital marketer. And so I got into Out There, which they were trying to look into like how can they achievably create content repetitively, which is what I would actually say that my like specialty is like making brands that can post like 7 days a week high quality content without it being too much of a lift. Because that was where Out There Colorado, when I had moved there, they had tried social media marketing before with a big budget, like a bunch of gear, a bunch of staff. Like they would do 10-person shoots, like all this stuff, and it basically went bunk. Like literally, it was under the umbrella of a larger organization, the Gazette, which is like owned by Billion Shoots, whatever. But that's a Pulitzer-winning paper. Out There Colorado was like kind of their like startup incubation place, and they had basically the year before I got there, they had this big team, and they downsized it to 3 people because it just wasn't working. The numbers weren't working. And so when I got in there, I was like, okay, how do we like achievably consistent output? Like that's all. And then you can cover stories that people find relevant, blah, 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 blah. And so that's where I kind of started working on like more podcast style content because that worked really well, and working on their imaging pipeline and like establishing their podcast. And so that's where after that, I moved to Seattle, was kind of looking for a job. I was kind of like, I don't know, discipline agnostic. I kind of think every business needs a social media marketer. So I was fine with working anywhere. And so I basically found the job at Hemet, John, who's the COO, is a big believer in social media marketing and what it can do for an organization. And we started our first brand, which through our conversation, it might get a little muddy. We've had 3 different brands. We shut down one of them, started one, and then we've moved on to like a more prestige style focus. The first one we worked on was Gossip Without Prejudice, and that was obviously the one that went viral in the first month. Like I literally started editing for them and we had a 3 million view video. And it was like, I mean, they had me build their studio too, which is something I can talk about. Like doing a multicam setup, using AI to edit the podcast, because like live cam switching, I mean, you're using Riverside. So Riverside takes care of that, like live cam switching, which is really nice. But before that, if you wanted to do like high quality videos, you would have to, okay, like we shot an entire hour and a half podcast. I sat there the whole time. And then I have to go back through and I have to like do all of the switching for each part. And so like making sure that all the outputs were clean from the camera, making sure the mixer was getting a good signal, and like really making it so, and 4K images, obviously, like that's the most important thing. If you're like clipping podcasts for social media, we were shooting in 4K. Like getting a good image obviously is implied in that. But that kind of like brings us to now, in where like I have this pipeline. We have 2 remote editors that work with us, and that's part of why we're releasing a long form podcast and 10 clips per week. And I mean, on the low end, they get 10,000 views on every platform. And then on the high end, we've had one that reached 3.1 million views across all platforms. And that, and this content, kind of those other brand experiments that we'd moved into, they were kind of like deviations from what I view as like my bread and butter, as what I bring to the table. Of just I capture raw organic content really cleanly. Like I really want the image, the audio, everything to be clean. Like I really view it as like data capture. Like I want to perform the most pure data capture that I can on 2 human beings talking, because I think a lot of people overemphasize how much value you have to offer in social media. Like you have to offer people. Like it's like, oh, I have to have a hook and then I have to have this. And it's like, yes, all that stuff does happen. But when you sit 2 human beings in a room and the audience can hear them clearly and see them clearly, they empathize with them. And like there's just this magnetism that you can get from just capturing human beings as cleanly as possible, that is really compelling to people. And that's what I view. Like I'm not really like oh, like here are the 10 hooks that will make you go viral or whatever. Like I think that content is like organic, and people have been compelling for thousands of years, and it doesn't change because there's like social media, you know, right? Like AI doesn't affect how relevant like human connection is to me. So that brings us to now. Basically, if you want to know my origin story with a few bits to the side.
That's a great introduction, Sam. Thank you. One of the first thing that immediately jumped at me, and I might anger some people with that comment, but when I look for people to excel at marketing, I try to avoid working with people with traditional marketing background, because I think it gives a lot of wrong incentives. It gives a lot of templated thinking.
Yeah.
And in my experience, people like yourself that didn't have a traditional marketing background, but really had a passion, were maybe ahead of the curve in certain areas.
Yeah.
You have different approach. So the way you plan your work, the way you execute your work comes off differently, and it tends to be more practical for the business as well. Not because it's what it's supposed to be academically, but because what you have seen work or not work in terms of practice.
Yeah.
You obviously worked in different marketing teams, and I'm wondering if you would reflect on something similar in your experience, that the passion can outweigh just traditionally having the right certification or the right marketing background.
Yeah, 100%. Well, so I mean, like I kind of talked about earlier, like I tried to be a business minor, but then I got into business school and it was all Excel spreadsheets. And I could not care about Excel. Like I had always loved advertisements, right? And I collect vintage advertisements. I can show you my collection over there. Um, even growing up, like all types of ads I loved. And then I get into business school, and I'm like trying to make this work. I'm trying to make a double major in English and business work, and then I switch it to a minor. And no matter what, I keep running into, okay, I have to make an Excel spreadsheet that demonstrates the value of like whatever. And I just that wasn't what drew me to it, because I'm just, I mean, to be like very clear, like I'm a very like intrinsically motivated person. Like I do
Mhm.
this stuff because I would be doing it regardless.
Mhm.
I'm happy that I get to make a living doing it. Like I feel very fortunate and very lucky to have been able to get the opportunities to be able to express myself in this format. But I do think it offers me like a competitive advantage over a lot of other. I mean, like when I worked at the paper, like at the paper, like not to shit on their social team, but it was a lot of
Mhm.
marketing majors, and it just there was this lack of like marketing and communication, and it was like a
Mhm.
4-person department, whereas I was a 1-person department, and I had one guy who we would do videos with. If you look at Out There Colorado and sort by most popular, you'll see me and one other guy talking. And so that, and it just kind of made it like we just talked about things that me and him thought were interesting. That's what we were talking about. And things that resonated with us as people. And I think that's like an important thing about social media is like people get so caught up in like, oh, audience, 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 that they
Mhm.
forget that these are human beings. Like human beings are watching your content and they're making like decisions. Like it doesn't matter what like the algorithm is a representation of what the audience thinks. The algorithm is not a god. You know what I mean? Like whereas I
Mhm.
feel like people are like, oh yeah, 10, like I keep going back to this, but like the 10 hooks guaranteed to go viral or whatever. There's no, it's like, I don't know, it's like a playwright being like, oh yeah, if you start every play with this, it's guaranteed to win every award. You know what I mean? There's a lot, like it's this mixture. I mean, a lot of people have said this about marketing before, but it's this mixture of respecting the numbers. The numbers are important. I like the numbers. I like going viral. Like I don't want to oversee a brand that's not going viral, because that I want successful content and I want to be a successful person.
Mhm.
But if I focus on the numbers, if I start with the end, I'm going to forget about the means. And you have to develop the means, the pipeline, like all of that before you can get to that end. And think about it, like there's an illustration that I love to like bring up in what I do. It's like a search algorithm.
Mhm.
Like it's when people are designing search algorithms. It's like if you were a captain in the middle of a pond, right? And you're trying to look for the deepest part of the pond. um, you would take one measurement and then go forward and take another measurement.
Mhm.
But if you started to see diminishing returns, you would probably like, oh, I should probably go off this way and measure a little bit here. It doesn't mean like, oh, I should go like to the other side of the lake where I have no information and just take random depth measurements. If I'm taking random depth measurements everywhere, I might like I'm not going to find the most the deepest part of the pond. And so that's where I'm like, I try to develop those means so that we can take little tiny depth measurements and develop our content piece by piece, instead of like randomly like, okay, now I saw this TikTok video, let's build an entire video around what this
Mhm.
guy's doing. Or like I think people are taking like random shots in the dark, like scatter shot into just a pure black void, trying to like hit big. You know what I mean?
Certainly, I think this is where you need to balance. You can't just have quality; you need to have quantity to
Mm-hmm.
find out where directionally correct and what resonates.
A
And,
hundred percent.
and another point that you said previously that I just want to double click on as well. Um, is that the data capture element, because
Hmm.
sometimes when professionals want to record a video from the side of the subject matter that we are capturing,
Yeah.
they try to make every word perfect and everything
Hmm.
structured.
Yep.
And same goes in writing, whether it's an email campaign or a letter to existing clients.
Hmm.
uh, there is this obsession of getting every detail the right,
Yeah.
but in practice, most of the clients won't have time to sit down and read everything word to word.
Yeah.
So it's more of a feeling and being directionally direct, and just
Hmm.
not being stuck, but producing good content consistently.
Yeah.
That will have a greater benefit to the firm. And I'm guessing you've seen this firsthand many times.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm not to overload you with metaphors, but there's another analogy I like to use that it's like, uh, I used to be a soccer coach in college. I was a soccer coach for a while. And what we used to tell our players, I have no idea if this is correct or not, but it was good advice to give soccer players,
Mm-hmm.
is for every 10 shots on goal, you're like likely to score one. And so
Mm-hmm.
the goal, you just need to take 10 shots on goal. Like, but the caveat that I attach there is that you have to be facing the goal. You have to have good
Mm-hmm.
form. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just stop there. Like 10 shots that have an intention of going in the goal is what you need to take. And then if you're lucky, one of those 10 might hit. And like, I mean, and you're kind of guaranteed that. Like, I mean, even in our last, well, not guaranteed that. I don't know. Caveat, caveat, caveat. But like, we post on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And it's shocking to me how many of those, like, I mean, one will just go viral on one platform. Like, there was this one on Facebook that got like 300,000 views and like
Mm-hmm.
5,000 views on another platform. Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. Like, you're kind of powerless.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, if we're producing 10 videos a week, like one of those across one of the platforms is going to go viral. Like, even our first month back in this brand further study, we kind of pivoted back to kind of my bread and butter. We had tried to go into like YouTube video essays, and I think we'll still try and do that along the line. But it was
Mm-hmm.
kind of we got to a point where I was like, hey, can we go back to my style? And we went back to my title templates, and we went back to like what I do best. And so maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm not the best video essay creator on the planet, but that's beyond me. Like, I don't know. But we returned to this style. We go super viral. We have a 3 million view video in the first like week of
Mm-hmm.
posting. Like, this sounds like to me, this sounds like bullshit. But I
Mm-hmm.
swear you could look at the further study stuff on TikTok and Instagram. It's like you can see we're like 300 views, 300 views, 300 views, switch styles, and then like a million.
Takes off.
Like, yeah. And so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can only speak for the power of like podcast content. This is what all of my advice inherently comes from, is that like, if I had to, I'm a social media podcast producer. If I had to
Mm-hmm.
get really technical about my role, but I think podcasting affords you just this the ability to take 10 shots on goal consistently, and like almost guarantee that one of them goes in. You know what I mean?
I think there are so many different factors that go into that equation, and the numbers are probably correct, because if you think about how VCs invest into different businesses, for example, it's the same
Mm-hmm.
logic. They are not expecting. They are very careful with their due diligence. They are not
Mm-hmm.
investing into random companies. They are selective. They have their uh, strategy for what they're looking for. But even then,
Mm-hmm.
the expectation is they might invest into 10 companies, seven will flop, two maybe
Yep.
will break even, and then one
Mm-hmm.
will actually be very successful and will make up for the whole activity. So
Mm-hmm.
thinking about the content, it's very much the same thing. But part of the equation, and I'm curious about your experience with different companies that you worked with, there is some work that you as a marketer can help your colleagues, but of course you also need your experts, your lawyers, to be part of the
Mm-hmm.
equation. They need to be available, and partly I think possibly the podcast and sort of the video essays and different other formats work differently based on who you have on the video and who you have the work.
Hmm.
So, what are your thoughts about, you know, who should be on camera and should be trying to get better? And maybe if there is a different style that you would recommend based on whether it's personality type or
Hmm.
maybe you have some guidance there.
Yeah, I mean, so as far as I don't know, I'm kind of delusional when I've said this because I've been really lucky to work with really like charming people.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think anyone can be on camera as long as you set up the environment. Like that's part of when I'm setting up a studio. I don't do usually if I'm like working like just me and my boss or whatever, I'll do a clap check to make sure the cameras and everything is synced. But if I'm
Mm-hmm.
working with someone who's not usually on video, I'm not doing a clap check.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to feel like this is a production. I want them to feel
Mm-hmm.
like they just walked into a room and sat down. Because I really think like anyone can be a compelling on camera if they just forget that there's a camera there. Because like I really like I don't know, I believe like every person is a compelling person if you talk to them long enough. Like that's why man on the street content, that's the inherent appeal there. But I think like any lawyer, any whatever, like can be compelling on camera if they forget. And like I don't know, that's kind of one of the reasons I think I've excelled is because I have a background along with soccer coaching in college. I also did like improv, I did theater, I
Mm-hmm.
competed in one act plays and stuff. And so I'm used to working with people. And so working with people who are not used to performing, I feel like I can communicate, hey, just like be yourself, like kind of bring that improv energy because I think people like I said earlier, people get caught up in the like, oh, I need to offer value. Like I need to offer value if I'm appearing on camera. That's the nice part about like if you take your phone out and you take a video of yourself talking about anything, people are going to be like, why does this guy think he's so important that he's going to share his opinion on the internet? And then like this, you take podcast, same exact clip, but it's a podcast, and he's like, "Hey, I just heard about this thing," and then the audience member, like who's scrolling, is like, "Oh, I'm just listening to two guys talk. They're not giving me their opinion. They're giving each other their opinion." And it's not this like there's no value statement that the audience can
Mm-hmm.
attach because it's just like, oh, I'm participating in their conversation. I'm not, I don't know. They're not shoving their opinion down their throat, even though like it's technically the same thing. Like we sat down and we set up the cameras and we were like, we're gonna make a video about this thing. And then but where it's just two people talking, you know what I mean? And I think that's a lot more appealing. But so I think it also makes those two people who are on camera, like as soon as they forget that there's cameras, I think it just like I mean, yeah, one of our videos, like it was with someone, one of our most viral videos, it was with someone who wouldn't describe themselves as someone who likes to appear on camera.
Mm-hmm.
And but I just worked with them, tried to get the breathing exercises, you know, shake it loose, and that's I like they were compelling to 3 million people. And so I think there's just this there's this I don't know I don't know what to call it, misconception that you have to be a performer to be on camera when actually like the internet is so dead right now. Like when you scroll on LinkedIn, everyone you hear an AI blog post, here's what I don't know, this taught me about this, and here's my reasons why. Like, I don't know, LinkedIn for a while was pretty high value content. You would get on there and you would hear someone talk about a lesson they've learned through their career, which I mean, that stuff is still important, but it's almost impossible for me as a spectator to tell whether that's just AI slop or not. Like, there's no distinguishing value. And that's where I think, like, being on the internet and showing your face on the internet is making your brand alive. Like it's like literally like, oh, does your brand breathe on the internet? And I think that goes for, I mean, like I've worked at dental brokerages, I've worked at outdoors companies. Like I'm really, that's why I'm like, agnostic about what industry I work in is because I genuinely believe every business needs a social media marketer in today's day and age to like just keep their brand out on the internet so that whether it's B2B or B2C, like you have to be connecting with people all the time. And with social media, you get to feature your lovely face talking very friendly to one of your coworkers who's someone you already like, who's someone you already talk to. But the data capture pipeline has to be there. And that's where I come in. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I
Mm.
think it's also one of those rare cases where the best practices and what's easier to do actually aligns, because
Mm-hmm.
to your point, it might be very challenging for somebody to be in front of the camera and feel like it's the whole process where they have a change in voice, they have a change in how they talk, and then they try to push a message which might be perceived very condescending. It's like,
Yep.
oh, this is the best practice, this is
Mm-hmm.
how it should be done. And then the viewer has a little bit of a disconnect with that. It's like, well, why are you lecturing me, some stranger on the internet? But if
Exactly.
it's a conversation between two people, especially if they're talking about the work they just did together, or maybe event they attended, or
Mm-hmm.
a problem that they were just solving together, it's just a conversation. It's
Yeah.
authentic. It's easier to record, and
Mm-hmm.
it usually performs better as well.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly enough, and I'm sure you know this, but for the purposes of whether it's organic SEO or the way how AI is now picking up information, it gives a lot more value to something that's authentic and
Mm-hmm.
is being told from the first person, as opposed to being, like you said, the dead internet effect, where it's just everybody posting the same AI slope, and there's
Yeah.
nothing new, nothing authentic being injected into the
Uh-huh.
conversation.
Yeah. Well, and like, I mean, to clarify, I'm not anti AI. AI is important in my workflow. Like,
Mhm.
it's straight up, I use it for thumbnails. We use AI in Premiere. The podcast switching thing we use, it's AI, but it's like the most rudimentary definition of AI. It reads a audio waveform and it says, "Oh, I should be on camera one because this audio waveform is speaking." Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
Mhm.
I don't know, but I think that is like, yeah, that's the meat of it, is that for you to feel alive on the internet, like you have to get your face out there. I don't know if I followed up your point that well there.
Yeah, no, that is the point. I think that those authentic conversations is what makes the difference, as opposed
Yeah.
to trying to force something. And
Mm-hmm.
I think Gary Vee was, at least in my memory, the first person who's actively promoted document, don't create. Just
Yeah.
document what's going on, have those conversations, just be on camera. Don't
Mm-hmm.
try to force create it.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess to share some of your experience with the audience here as well, you're talking about setting up the studios and being very disciplined about making sure that there is a regular content is being put out.
Mm-hmm.
If you are to work with a firm that has zero video presence
Mm-hmm.
at the moment,
Yeah.
and they understand that now when there is AI, they need to have their face out there, they need to get
Mm-hmm.
started, how would you go about of helping the firm go from zero to now they're consistently producing their first video content, and what they should be looking at in terms of the
Mm-hmm. Well,
initial success metrics?
initial success metric. I mean, like, when I worked at Out There, my entire career at Out There, it was shot on an iPhone 14 with a mixer with two SM58s that were like 10 years old. So that's like, and you can do that. And obviously, so like, the mixer was old too, so it only had one audio waveform. So we didn't have any like AI
Mhm.
editing, because we at my new work we have a nicer mixer so that it splits. It's a multi-track recorder, which is rarer than you think. And like, so that's, I mean, if you want to start how I got started, set up your iPhone, and like, Apple Log is a great option, or you can record in Rec 709, but set it up with two people. Make sure you're recording in 4K. Do record like this, like, so that you have two 1080 by 1920 frames
Mhm.
within the image. Like, that's if you want to do the absolute simplest. Like, you just boom boom, and then you have content. I mean, but those two people have to face each other. Like, there's a lot of there's a lot of room for growth there. That's part of why, like, and so now that I'm working at a place that's more willing to, I mean, they were starting from zero, and it was like, I was like, well, bare minimum, we can start with the iPhone, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, well, we kind of want something better. We want something that looks more premium. And if you
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do a premium, like a more premium setup, it would be like, I have it down to a wire is a Rodecaster
Mm-hmm.
Pro 2. Um, do and do all Rode. I'm a big proponent of Rode. I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
could tell. I think Rode is the best. I think, like, as far as value to what you get for audio. So I would do all Rode system, all Blackmagic cameras. Um, and because Blackmagic has a lot of, if you look into their ATEM ISOs, they have a lot of like the switching alternatives that you can have someone live switch, and then it will be loaded into the editing program already edited, but you can also use DaVinci Resolve to edit it afterwards. But that all gets plugged in direct into a live stream. But then you can shoot on like nice lenses. Like, that's the thing about like an iPhone. You're not going to get like two people looking at each other. The cross. I don't know if you're aware of the term the Kuleshov effect. It's like a film thing. It's where if you
Mm-hmm.
show one person and then show another person, like if you show one person's eye lines and then show
Mm-hmm.
another thing, it implies that they're looking at each other, which is what
Right.
you're trying to go for. But
Mm-hmm.
having the like in movies now, it's called coverage or whatever. Sorry, I'm thinking of the Odyssey. Odyssey, they had to approach coverage in some pretty creative
Mm-hmm.
ways. If you haven't heard about that, they had like a whole mirror system. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But you set up those two cameras and then a wide camera, and you get some good lenses. I'm a big believer. I think people underrate lenses when it comes to achieving good looks in their video. But like that system would cost you, I mean, like $10,000. I mean, Blackmagic cameras, like they're pretty. They're not the most expensive, but they're not the most cheap either. But Blackmagic has like absolutely. They are like positioning themselves as the podcast video platform, and like, yeah. If you don't know much, Blackmagic like has the best color, like all of this stuff. I don't know. We shoot on Sony now because of the autofocus features, which I love Sony. But now that I'm further into it, if I were to redesign the studio, I would go for Blackmagic for sure. But so that would be about $10,000 to $12,000 versus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could buy a mixer off of eBay, and SM58s off of eBay are $50. So you could get a podcast up and running, assuming you have an iPhone, which everyone does, for $150. So it's like $150 versus $12,000. Which one do I think is better? The $12,000 one. I think you will get your return on the investment if you're serious about getting into social media. But yeah, those are for sure my picks.
So that's the technical setup of a studio for somebody to get started. And like you said, there is a range. Somebody could literally start with an iPhone if they
Mm-hmm.
just want to, get
Yeah,
started and see how it feels. And then on the higher end, they can be more sophisticated. But again, the costs are probably a lot lower than what a lot of business owners and a lot of lawyers actually thinking about, especially in terms of the return of what it does for the business. And
100%.
that's the second thing I want to talk about, because when they start recording and they start getting the views, can you talk a little bit about the impact it had on the businesses, having all those views, be pointed at them, at the lawyers in the firm, and then how did that transform the way they work?
Yeah, I mean, so to be honest, I'm not like I know it helps with SEO. Like I talked about, I'm a bad business major. My entire role is consumed with how do I get more views? Like how do I get more impressions? And our KPIs, like we work for a family law firm, and also there's a software startup that is associated with us. But so we produce marketing for them. Like our ads have been performing well. Like, and that's the nice part is like about having in-house social media. We can be like, oh, we need like 10 brand new creative for ads delivered to every single platform across Google ads, Facebook ads, blah, 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 Reddit ads. And we can have like a suite of ads done in like 5 days. Like 5 days, and 5 days is an overestimation. We literally just got one done in like 3 days. And
Mm-hmm.
so we can turn around on the, like if our marketing team uh says that we need fresh creative, we get fresh creative right out the door right away. And so we're really responsive to that stuff. I'm not like, yeah, I would love to be able to be like, things have been going gangbusters. But
Mm-hmm.
anything I would say to you would be like an estimation on my part, because I'm not really tied to that part of business. I manage my team of editors. I listen to our COO, and I see what the firm needs. So you might have to speak to him more about that. But
I think from my side, I can probably fill in some the gaps for the audience. We've My team worked with firms that didn't have any video, and then we
mm-hmm,
basically had to brute force their advertising by static images or text
yeah,
only ads. And for it varies by the industry, but for example, in the high net worth immigration, so like
mm-hmm,
investor entrepreneur immigration, the cost per qualified consultation for the phone
mm-hmm,
to ring and have a relevant client to be on the other end of it
yeah,
could be $500, $600.
mm-hmm,
Once you start creating video content and then you get it in front of the right people with distribution from advertisement, that cost drops to $200,
wow,
$180. And when you multiply that, even
mm-hmm,
across the first, year,
mm-hmm,
that makes a lot of difference.
yeah,
Um,
100%,
and another side of that as well that we have seen is that not only more people find about the business, but it creates a completely different relationship because once that been captured, those conversations captured,
mm-hmm,
and the potential client can binge watch the person they want to work with,
yeah,
they come to a meeting with a different mindset. Now they know, like, a trusted person, and they say,
mm-hmm,
we don't want to, go shopping for legal services based on price. We
yeah,
want to work with you. We
yeah,
heard your stories, we resonate with you, we feel comfortable. How can we get
mm-hmm.
started?
Yeah, well, and I think that's like, I mean, I don't have any data to back this up, but like people use legal services at a difficult point in their life. Like it's not like, or at an, like, I mean, in your case, immigration, like, I don't know, family law, it's much more difficult, but like not much more difficult, but like they're not there with no problem. They want someone to help them with a problem. And so someone who, a smiling face that they can already relate to when they get into the meeting already helps with that. And that's, I mean, kind of one of my like pitches for social media is like, I mean, imagine telling a business owner 50 years ago that you could have, like, you could crystallize your best salesman's best pitch in perfect, like perfect capture, and he's available to anyone 24/7, like like at any point at 3 a.m. they're looking into legal services. You get your best salesman in front of them right away, and it feels like he's there. And that's why high quality matters, is because it feels like you're in the room, it feels like you're with the person. um and yeah, I just I can't not believe in it enough, you know what I mean?
100%. One of the questions I think worth talking about as well from your experience with social media, you
Mhm.
mentioned earlier that the same piece of content can be viral on one platform and do very little on the other.
Yeah.
Let's take family law as an example. What are the platforms that lawyers that want to get in front of the camera should be thinking about? Should they be everywhere or should they be selective about where they start?
Everywhere. I really, I don't think I was like this before, but I think it's really everywhere, because it's just, I mean, there's people, like it's crazy because our number one performing demographic across all platforms is 25 to 34.
Mm-hmm.
And like you think like there's all these suggestions of people, like, I don't know, that I don't know, only like people in their 70s use Facebook or whatever, or
Mm-hmm.
only kids in only young kids use YouTube, or like only cool teens use TikTok. You know what I mean? And it's
Mm-hmm.
I think I do find that there's different types of consumers on each platform, but uh, uh, you get distro on all of those platforms. Like I think people I think people are super underrating YouTube Shorts. Super
Mm-hmm.
underrating YouTube Shorts is one of my pieces of advice, because it's just like it. I feel like there's so many people who say they don't use social media, but I see the numbers on YouTube. Everybody's using YouTube. And like we see our numbers on YouTube and everybody's using YouTube. And so I think people are like, "Oh, I have to post here." And you can get like, it takes a second to set up, but you can set up like Metricool, whatever, um and it can post to all the platforms. I'm really like, I don't know, like LinkedIn, you should have your brand tied into one place where you can post to YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, like whatever, like everything. I couldn't more be a believer in everything, especially now, because before I used to underrate it, but now I mean Facebook, like even 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, we kind of underrated our Facebook following at
Mm-hmm.
Outdoors magazine. We didn't think, and like for a while, we didn't get like, we would get like 3,000 views per video. But I think Facebook has really tried to push their reels. And towards the end, like we would get like 2 million views. We would get like 300,000 views, like all of this stuff. Like, and people think Facebook is a dead platform. I'm not going to argue that Facebook isn't a dead platform, but there are people using it. There are for sure, like from my experience, there's for sure people using every single platform. So you should use every single platform. And it's also like, I don't know, there's just certain topics that will hit with a certain audience. And I don't know why. I like, um, I mean, I can make guesses. I can make like kind of educated guesses looking at the data. Like if it's a um like us covering something about like a contractor being wronged, it's probably going to go
Mm-hmm.
more viral on Facebook or YouTube. Like, you know what I mean? Whereas like TikTok or Instagram, it might be more like a relationship style thing that goes viral. But for me to like guess that at all, I think is just like, I think I would be wrong no matter what, because I think it's more nuanced than whatever I can imagine. Um, so that's yeah, I couldn't more believe, like, I mean, if you want to try it out, like TikTok, if you want to try it out and no one to see it, TikTok. TikTok is not going to give you distro unless you earn it. Like, you are not going to
Mm-hmm.
get any views on your video unless you earn it with TikTok. And so having an alt account like to experiment on is good on TikTok. But all of them have great data for you. If you want the most data, YouTube might be a good place to start. Like, I'm just suggesting, if someone doesn't want to set it up on all platforms and you want to learn from data the quickest, might be YouTube or TikTok. They have really good retention metrics. I mean, so does Facebook and Instagram. I don't know. I'll post on all of them. Post on all of them. Uh huh.
Do everything, be
Yeah.
everywhere.
Uh huh.
I think there's also another layer now that, in addition to the human viewers that are
Mm-hmm.
different on all the platforms, and the total number of your addressable market on a certain
Mm-hmm.
platform could be more or less, but there is still that demographic, and there is enough to justify, the extra time to post the content. But there's also another layer now that AI also scans different platforms.
Yeah.
And even if you might not get enough human viewers there, it's still
Mm-hmm.
picking up your videos, it's still picking up your expertise. And this
Mm-hmm.
is how a firm can land in the recommendations, which again turn into real clients at a
Yeah.
much higher rate than any other search.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's quite important.
Yeah.
One of the um, one of the things as well I want to touch on is distribution,
Mm-hmm.
because probably getting those initial views, and like you said, some platforms they make you earn it and
Mm-hmm.
require a little bit more of a time commitment and creative commitment.
Mm-hmm.
um, I think short term can also be circumvented by paid ads distribution,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you have to put money behind it, but then you can also be more intentional about who's seeing it, and you
Mm-hmm.
get a faster feedback loop.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add to that comment that you made, that if the firm is just getting started, if they have good understanding of who their ideal clients are and who they
Mm-hmm.
want to see the video, they can
Yeah.
actually speed the process up. And that
Mm-hmm.
can become the initial proof of concept
Yeah.
based on which they continue recording organic content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Well, and even like it's so crazy because there used to be like and there still probably is, but like market testing at companies is has always been a big industry. But you get free market testing on your ads. Like and like it's like I don't know, 300 views is like the failure rate for TikTok. If you get
Mhm.
300 views, that means it showed it to 300 people. Those 300 people did not like the video. Like they scrolled. Like just to be honest, there's no such
Mhm.
thing as 300 view jail. It's because your videos aren't good. That's at least my opinion, and that's like we were. I don't know. We'd struggled with that in the past. I was like, it's there's no the only way out of this is to make good video, but you get your top performers like are crystal clear to you. Like, and so if you want to juice those, like all of a sudden you get a top performer, you can put paid advertisement behind it, and then all of a sudden, and to be fair, I've never done paid media, so I'm not. I'm 100% organic. Like literally
Mhm.
have never touched paid paid ad usage, but like you all of a sudden but I've had like I don't know. I think we've used some of our videos for paid ads that weren't specifically crafted for ads. Like I've created, but anyways, is you can just get really good distribution because you already know the videos that are most likely to get people to watch longer, and then you get them in front of people, and then people watch your content for longer, and it's like feels like a win for me for sure.
100%. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's a great strategy. Take something that works organically with the initial reach and then amplify it.
Yeah.
Because if you've seen that for whatever reason, and sometimes we might have ideas, like you said earlier, but who knows how the algorithm works with the changes and what will connect and what won't. But
Mm-hmm.
if it did connect organically, then putting
Yeah.
some pain behind it could be a wonderful way to engage as well. And another
100%.
part of where having good content connects really well with the paid advertising strategy,
Mm-hmm.
for many professional services, they just try to hammer down the direct response style where they
Mm.
promoting their services directly, and that gets
Mm-hmm.
boring really
Yeah.
quickly, and it resonates only with a very small part of the market
Yeah.
that's actively looking for help. For
Mm.
everybody else that might be a good client a week from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, they want to see more substance,
Yeah.
and promoting actual interesting conversations, whether it's podcasts or other
Mm-hmm.
clips for them, that will always fare better and will earn that audience for the later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. I mean, yeah, I couldn't believe in that enough. Like, it's just, I don't know. I've always been of the, like, yeah, ads, they serve a very specific purpose, but you can craft them to be like so much more and like you can build loyalty. Like
Yeah,
people can develop loyalty to you that you otherwise, I mean, it would be so expensive to build that loyalty using just pure dollars, you know what I mean? uh with with just a smiling face and three cameras or two cameras or one camera.
yeah,
um
100%.
mhm,
Sam, for the law firms that are on the fence about
mhm.
starting content, what would be your parting words of wisdom for them to do in 2026?
Words of wisdom. I would say just try it. Like, I mean, if you're thinking about it, just try it. Like, make an alt account. Make an alternative account if you're not privy to the lingo. But like, you can post anything. Obviously, you can get someone who's a specialist to come in to run cameras and stuff, like myself. But you can also just like people like to hear from people, and so talk about yourself, talk about your business and how it helps people because everyone, like the nature of dollars coming in the door means that you help people. And so talk about that. I think, man, if I would say figure out a way to get good audio, figure out a way to get good video that at least isn't like, I don't know, terrible, that isn't a pain to sit through. And then build from there and register what, like, I think people really, especially when they're starting, they're like, well, what would people want to hear from me about? And they have no empathy for people. That's one thing that I think people gets people caught up, is that the this isn't an algorithm. It's people. At the end of this pipeline is people. And so, and you're a person. I don't know if you know that or not. You're a person. I'm a person. Like, everybody's a person. And so you know what people care about because you know what you care about. And so talk about what you care about in, like, I mean, even if it's spreadsheets. If you're one of those God-given people who only cares about spreadsheets, talk about spreadsheets and spreadsheet optimization. And I promise you, there is a market for it. Like, I follow a guy on TikTok who literally just documents different speaker systems at different amusement parks, and what cables go into which I love. I think it's great content. But I don't think most people are interested in that. But I am, because me and that guy, like, I don't know. I don't even go to theme parks that much, but I think it is like seeing the rigging. I love the rigging of tech. There's so many, and he's got like 3,000 followers, and I'm one of 3,000 loyal followers. Like, there's an audience for everything. Like, don't get caught up. Don't overthink it. For sure, would be my number one piece of advice.
I think
Like,
that's a
yeah.
great advice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sam, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a great conversation. Super fun to talk to you.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks. Bye.